Welcome to Tales from the Fandom, a podcast that brings a special guest out of the multiverse and straight to you. And now your host, David Ginsburg.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Tales from the Fandom. I recorded an episode with guest Keith Baker, game designer and creator of the Eberron Dungeons & Dragons setting for a future podcast episode. Keith has a new game on Kickstarter that's running until August 1st. It's called Action Cats. It's a family-friendly storytelling game about the internet's favorite animal, cats. The links to Action Cats will be in the show notes as well as on our Facebook page. It is a fun game that's in the vein of Cards Against Humanity, but totally different. It plays similar, but it is more story-driven and story-oriented, and I am excited for you guys to take a look and see if it's something that you're interested in. You can find out more about Keith at keith-baker.com or on Twitter at hellcowkeith. Check out Action Cats on Kickstarter and back it like I did. And if you enjoy Tales from the Fandom, consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/talesfromthefandom. Enjoy this short episode talking all about Action Cats. Let's talk about your newest Kickstarter project, which I've already backed, and I backed it at the highest level because I have intentions on using it as Christmas or birthday gifts for my friends that love cats, and that is Action Cats.
So Action Cats is something that came up at the end of last year. We were talking with some friends and just basically talking about crazy adventures of cats, and someone should make a game about that. And it was just sort of a silly thing. We came up with a bunch of it's the cat war game, or something like that. Came up with a bunch of silly ideas, but this one stuck in my head. And my thing is, I love collaborative storytelling. It's what I love most about role-playing games, is getting together, building stories together. It's what I love about my game Gloom. In Gloom, the mechanics work, but what's most fun about it is the stories that evolve from it. Mm-hmm. So Action Cats is a game about telling stories about cats. And essentially, each of the cards has a picture of a cat on one side, and all of our cats are, as we said, crowdsourced. Basically, if you play the game, you can submit a picture. Not play the game. If you back the game, you can submit a picture of your cat, and we'll consider putting it in the game. All the cats we've currently got are things that friends have donated. But basically, on the one side, you have a cat. On the other side, you have the beginning of a story and the end of a story. The game starts with someone who's the judge, takes the top cat, and they give it a name. So I say, this cat is Funky Whisker Beans. And then everyone else takes two cards from their hand, puts the two cards together to create the beginning and the end of a story. Now, that gives you a foundation. So the cards that I have may say, this cat was the first cat in space, and it's all your fault. So that's sort of what you get from Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity, a funny combination of cards. The point is that with Action Cats, that's the start. And you can just, when it comes to you, just read that off and be done. But the idea is, what you want to do is tell a story based on that. So how is this cat the first cat in space? Why is it your fault? Is it, they walked into the capsule and you pressed the wrong button and they got launched into space? Is it that they've always wanted to go to space and it's all your fault because you bought them that telescope when they were just a kitten, and ever since they've been determined to go to the stars? That very much like Gloom, it's this point of, you don't have to tell a story, but telling a story is, it's sort of creating this foundation for things. And if I tell a story, then you might play off of what I said of, he is the first cat in space, but the thing of it is, and add your story on top of that. So what I like about Action Cats is it's incredibly simple. It's a deck of 160 cards. Basically, anyone, when you look at the cat, you look at this cat, it's very easy to say, is this cat, does he travel through time? Does he start fires with his mind? And as I say, the cards give people a basis for coming up with things. But what I love is that a particular combination of cards, 3 different people may tell an entirely different story based on that. On my Facebook page right now, on my feed, I've just done a thing where I've actually said, post a picture of your cat and I'll post an Action Cat story about it. And so if you go back and look at that, they'll be old by the time people hear this, but you can still find it, I'm sure. You can see where what I've done is taken 2 cards, but then I've told a story about that specific cat, so you can sort of see how the game plays. The main thing is it's very simple. It's very family friendly. It's very easy to look at and say it's Cats Against Humanity, but I'll say, but it's it's something I look forward to playing with kids and with my parents, and anybody who likes cats essentially is going to have fun with this game. And I figure after Gloom, with Gloom being a game where you have a family and you want them to suffer miserably and die, and after Phoenix, which is a game where you want your character to die, it was time to do something that was just straight up fun, and that's Action Cats.
Right, that's one of the things that I loved about it, is the family-friendly aspect, because I'm always on the lookout for stuff that I can do with my kids, and sometimes I could retool or repurpose like certain role-playing games maybe to get it to their level, but Action Cats just seems like straight out of the box something that they would love to do, because they're always telling me random stories about things that they're doing. And it's like, well, just add the cat in there and some helpful tips to start and end the story, and there you go.
That's exactly right, and that's sort of the point. Is it's just, especially kids, is I've encountered the same thing with Gloom. Is kids just love telling random stories, and that's the point. Is what the cards give you is they give you, again, look at that cat, think about what that cat would do, and then the cards from your hand give you sort of a foundation to work with. But kids are going to have fun just sort of building off of that and coming up with their own depth. And it's one of the reasons that, again, the first thing you do is the judge names the cat. And part of that is because that itself is a starting point for a story. Is this cat just, Whiskers, or is this cat Fuzzykins the Destroyer? And that's going to generate some different stories.
I was going to say there's 3 pledge levels at this point. There's the 17 for 1 box, 34 for 2 boxes, or the pledge level that I chose was 67 for 4 boxes, with the intent that I'm going to give out 3 of them to friends or as presents, because I have tons of people that I know in my life that love cats.
And that's very much sort of the key with us with this, is that it's a simple game and we're keeping it simple. We're not doing lots of add-ons. We do have stretch goals, but the stretch goals are adding more cards to the game. If we do well, we'll get more cards in there for you. But basically, what we want to do, having done a bunch of Kickstarters at this point, is we're just like, this is going to be extremely simple. We're printing it domestically. We should be able to have this out by the end of the year. We should be able to get this to the printer in August, and you'll have it by Christmas. And so that's part of what I like about it, is, again, it's very straightforward, it's very fun, but it's just going to be very quick and something we can get to you soon.
Absolutely. That's the other thing, because I had James D'Amato on from One Shot talking about Dungeon Dome, and that was the thing that we had talked about briefly, was the turnaround time from end of Kickstarter to actually having the product in your hand, or in his case, like online to watch, or to get the extra like podcast episodes or PDF, is that this turnaround time on Action Cats is incredible. Like, at least the estimated turnaround time, I should say, is incredibly quick for something of this, whereas you might pledge something and not get it for a year and a half, and you go to the mailbox and it's like, what's this box? I have no idea what I did at that point, because I know with Kickstarter
that happens to me all the time. Yeah.
Yep. I'm like, what's this package addressed to me? I didn't order anything.
No, and that's exactly the point. And again, having done Kickstarters, we've experienced that from that side, and that was why we chose, with Illimat, our previous Kickstarter, is just like, okay, there's flooding in China, and that adds a month to the time. And this is where we're saying, like I said, we're going to print it domestically. The game is already designed. The main thing we need to do is add cats. As I said, if you back the game, you get a chance to submit your cat. And, well, the biggest challenge we're going to have is going through thousands of adorable cats and deciding which ones make it into the game. But again, like I said, it's a 3-week Kickstarter. It wraps up August 1st, and we should have it to the printer within 2 weeks, is our theory. And with it local, that takes off a lot of, you don't have, when you're making things in a place like China, there's like you're adding 30 days at least for shipping, even once the game is done, let alone all the various things that can go wrong and delay. So yeah, that's one thing I'm excited about, is having worked on a lot of big, complicated Kickstarters. I'm looking forward to just making a game and having it into people's hands as soon as we can.
Absolutely. And the great thing is, if you have a cat at home, you can take a picture of that cat and submit it once you back it, because that's actually up and running now. I saw today, as we're recording this on the July 12th, and we've got 20 days left on this Kickstarter. You can now upload your pictures for consideration, and that is awesome.
And I'll go ahead and tell you, we say all this on the website, but the important things to consider, you want it to be portrait orientation because it's going on the back of a card, and ideally you want something that people are going to look at and say, that cat has a story, because all cats are adorable. That's just a fact. But, we're going to have, if we have 1,000 pictures, we want a cat that you look at and you think, that cat's traveled through time. Or that cat could be a pirate, So,
exactly.
So anything that is particularly distinctive will certainly help.
And I'll make sure to have this, the Kickstarter link in the show notes. Again, you have 20 days. I'll have this part of the episode up today on the 12th. So if anyone's listening, you have 20 days to get in there and back, and you will have a what looks to be a really fun game. And I mean, who can resist cats? Like you can't. Even I'm allergic to cats, but I like the game.
Well, and that's the point to me, is even if you don't have cats or even like cats, you can still look at the picture and imagine a story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, again, that's the challenge to us, is also, again, choosing pictures that make you look at that cat and say, what is that cat doing? What's that cat about? So yeah, Action Cats.
Thank you for listening to Tales from the Fandom. Subscribe to us on iTunes or your podcast app of choice. Follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/talesfromthefandom to see photos, links, leave feedback, and check out upcoming guests. If you'd like to be a guest, email David at talesfromthefandom@gmail.com.